Trading is a lonely grind, and that's why most people can't do it. I mean, if you think about it, it's just you. It's you against the world. It's just you and the chart. And what I'm going to talk about today is just a little mind shift or a little different way of approaching things that I think will make your journey, that much more deliberate and easy. That's why I trade futures in silence while other guys just complain. But when you think about it, complaining doesn't pay, discipline does. Most guys bitch about their job or their boss, and struggles that they're going through. But while they're complaining, I'm backtesting. While they're scrolling social media, I'm executing. When I was learning how to trade, I spent my time learning price action. Because bitching and complaining just builds frustration. Learning how to trade builds freedom. There's that one guy that everyone knows at work that needs the boss to tell him that he's doing a good job all the time. Needs that affirmation to signal that he's being productive. It really just needs someone to build him up. And why is that? I think it just boils down to a lack of confidence. And if you're looking for, if you're one of those people that's continuously looking for or needing someone to tell you that you're doing something right, or what good looks like, you need to take a step back, and you need to evaluate yourself, because what you lack is confidence. And if you take that mindset and you approach learning how to trade or trading, once you get past the learning stage without confidence in what you're doing, it's going to be disastrous. And and I know there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of moving pieces, on the chessboard of trading. But it's really not that hard. And as you become educated, and as you backtest your system, the end result will be an increased confidence in your ability to execute. But it takes time. And I think a lot of times people don't even realize that that their confidence is low. There's triggers. You got that second voice in your head that's causing you to second guess things all the time. Should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? Am I going to win? Am I going to lose? Whatever the case may be. But you can package all that up into a lack of confidence. And I would implore you to approach your trading education with intention and focus. And you got to commit. You got to commit to learning how your trading strategy performs over time. And I got several videos on the channel. that talk about how to do that. Uh, you know the act of backtesting your trading strategy. And really, what you're doing is you're testing out an idea, almost like a scientist. You know, the you form a hypothesis, which is your trading strategy or your set of rules, and you do a science experiment and you test it out, and you do that uh, against historical data or historical results, real results in the market. And check out some of the videos. It's pretty easy. High level overview. You open up your chart, whatever time frame you're on. If you're new, I'd recommend a daily time frame. And you rewind back, about a year in time is typically what I do. And you start on the right side of the chart and you advance it one bar at a time, which represents a day in the life of the market. And you wait for your setup to appear, and then you place a simulated trade. Now, if you're backtesting, you'll have to do it with the old-fashioned way, with pen and paper. If you're doing it in real time, you can actually place a simulated trade with monopoly money, if you will, through your broker, your trading software. But if you backtest it historically, you get the data that much quicker because the candles have already printed. I mean, it's old information. So when you advance it one day at a time, one bar at a time, log the entry, log the stop loss, log the profit target, and advance it until either your profit target is hit or you're stopped out, and log the result. Do that for a year. Take you probably about 2 hours, 3 hours tops, depending on how in depth or how well or familiar with your strategy that you're testing, or the rules, the entry rules and exit rules that you got, and then tally up the results. And you don't need a high winning percentage, but what I would shoot for is at least the high 80s to low 90 percentile win rate. And if you've got that and you've followed your rules, meaning that you actually follow them, and don't take simulated trades when it's close enough. What you have in your hands is essentially your own ATM machine. You've got a system that will let you extract money from the market, at will. And it's really that simple. And it boils down to having the discipline to follow your strategy and enter trades when a setup appears. You got to take them all. You can't say, well, I'll take this one, but I won't take that one, because that just skews the result. Your win rate while backtesting is against data where you took every simulated trade when the setup appeared, and that should build confidence in your system. Now, things change over time. Markets adapt year over year, and you may have to tweak things from time to time, as you notice those consistent changes showing themselves. But that's how you develop confidence in your system. And then, when you're trading with live money, that confidence, is what should help you battle, some of the internal emotions that you most certainly are going to experience when you've got real money on the line, especially when you're new. You're just getting started out. You're going to be excited, but you're also going to be nervous. And when you win, it feels like you've conquered the world. And when you lose, it's bad. And that's the mental roller coaster ride that you're signing up for, and you're going to need to work on managing your emotions so that the moves that you make are strategic, based on sound backtesting, coupled with a confidence in your system, and not the fear of missing out, or holding on to a losing trade. That let's talk about that for a minute. That's going to be one of the hardest things that you're probably gonna find yourself dealing with, is the risk management side of trading. I got to admit, there was a time, when I first started out, where, I didn't consider how I was going to get out of a trade unless it was a winning trade. How to protect yourself from losses didn't factor, into my thought process when I was starting out, because I was just convinced, of what was going to happen, and it burned me a couple of times. Um, but I'll tell you, it was one of the greatest lessons that I could have experienced, because it's gut wrenching when you sustain a sizable drawdown in your account, um, that converts into a loss. Uh, but that drawdown period, is it's tough. Um, and what is a drawdown? So a drawdown is when you're in a trade that starts to go against you, and you're showing a loss, on that trade, but you hold on to it. Um, and you may hold on to it because it's part of the price action that's going on, and you tell yourself, well, it's going to come back. It's just going down a little bit. It's going to come back. Small retracement, but then it doesn't. And there'll be clear signals printing on the chart telling you that you made a mistake and you should get out of the trade. And you won't. You'll hold on to it. You'll write it down, continuing to rack up those losses, and you'll find yourself glued to the chart, just willing it, trying to psychologically will it to turn around and go the other direction, telling yourself that if it just gets to this point, maybe if it just gets to where I entered the trade, I'll get out without a loss. And then sometimes it does. It creeps back up to where you entered, close to where you entered, again with clear indication that you should get out of the trade, and just that quickly your thought process will switch to, oh well, look, it's back to where I entered, so no harm, no foul. Now it'll go up. Now it'll surely go up. And that's how you lose money in trading, What you got to do is when you enter your trade, you've got to set your stop loss and your profit target, and you got to just let it play out. Don't get pulled into that that mental uh, that mental roller coaster. I want to use another word, but you know, it's a family. This is a family channel, so um, I think you get the picture. Uh, stop losses. Stop losses, if they're based on support zones, they're not a. Don't look at them as a brick wall or a line in the sand. When you when you when you identify that support level or that resistance level, that's going to be your stop loss, depending on whether you're trading on a bullish uh, uh, sentiment or a bearish sentiment. You know, understand that it's got to be a little bit flexible, so take that into consideration when you set your stop loss. But once you set it, the only once you set it, leave it. Let's just make it simple. I'm not going to talk about trailing stops in this video. We can talk about that another one. But you never change your stop loss, to keep you from getting stopped out. Let's just make it simple. Um, let it play out. And if it gets hit, that's just one losing trade in a block of trades. Trading's a numbers game. And your win percentage when you back tested was built over a block of trades, not any one trade. That's the same with your winners. The idea is obviously to have more winners than losers. But you gotta let your plan play out, because that's what you back tested. You're following your strategy. You're following your entry and exit rules, and let what's going to happen, and then move on to the next one. You're either stacking chips or you're studying where you may have went wrong. Sometimes when you knew, what you find out is that, damn it, you didn't exactly follow your trading strategy because you got into a hurry, or it's new to you, or whatever the case may be. After every trade, you should do what I call an after action report, just to document what happened, so you can use it as a reference point in the future. So if you really want to sum up the concept of what I'm trying to talk about in this video, it's really about being disciplined in what you do, and it makes it easier to have discipline in trading when you have confidence in your system. Confidence in your system comes from back trading it, testing it out, proving to yourself that it works, and then following it. Because trading isn't difficult. What's difficult is the emotional baggage that you bring to the table. You may be in a situation where you're really struggling, and you're struggling financially, or you're struggling emotionally. You've got things going on in your life that are making it difficult to concentrate. And it happens. We all go through periods of time where we're like, damn, what the hell's going on here? And sometimes it's just life presenting you with a test, and sometimes, frankly, it's self-inflicted. You've done it to yourself. But you'll get through it. learn from your mistakes. Don't let them define you. Pick up the pieces, lace up your boots, as I'd like to say, and get to work. No one's going to solve your problems for you. You've got to do it yourself. And if you're going through a rough patch, don't let it distract you from learning how to trade. Depending on where you're at in your journey, I would recommend not trading. When you don't have that peace in your life. Don't compound the problem by jumping into the market and suffering a loss because you weren't focused. Step back and distract yourself away from whatever it is you're going through, by educating yourself. Let your trading education be that distraction. Read a book, find a quiet spot and read. Soak it in. Get some soak time, in your education. I've all but turned off social media. No Instagram, no Twitter. I don't know, what other apps, you may be using or younger people, are attracted to. But that's a distraction. That's a waste of time. I mean, I'll admit I've got Facebook, and it's nice to see what your friends are up to, or what your family's doing. Keep track of the kids and the grandkids. And that marketplace. You can find deals on that marketplace. But that's it. I don't sit there and scroll. I'd rather read a trading book or backtest. Backtest for a trader is a healthy hobby, and one you need to get very familiar with the act of doing, because that's how you build. You continue to build confidence in your system, or you want to test out a new idea. Maybe you want to tweak your trading strategy somewhat, or you want to try out a new one. Don't try it out with real money. Backtest it. See for yourself. Take somebody else's word for it. Prove it to yourself. Why wouldn't you? You earned your money. I think you owe it to yourself to thoroughly test out an idea before you put it into play with real money. Don't be a gambler. Be deliberate. Be strategic. Be a warrior, not a pawn. And you'll do fine. The amount of time it takes for you to learn how to trade and get confident in what you're doing, is really up to you. It's how much time do you want to put into it, and I would treat it like a business. I would dedicate, a time slot every day. Maybe you're getting up early before work. Maybe you're staying up late after everyone else has gone to bed when the house is quiet. You can focus. You can learn. And if you approach learning how to trade with that intention, I know you'll be successful. Because that's one of the things that turned it around for me was that intentional approach to trading. and and I like it. I'm proud to say that you know that that I'm doing well, happy with the results, and now it's I'm in that stage where just building that account and scaling, and over time my position size is growing, which is directly correlates with the amount of uh, of profit that my trades produce. And you know, don't get discouraged. Uh, it feels like it's really hard in the beginning. You know, wins are on the smaller side, uh, and that's okay because in the beginning when you're learning, it's not about how much money you're making. It's about following your system. Your your success or failure should be tied to, am I following my system? Am I getting the results when I follow my system that I saw when I was back testing? And if you can do that, uh, you've got a recipe for success. So, hey, another good chat, another good drive to work, pulling into the plant, start another day, pound out another shift, and then go home, rinse, and repeat. So, you guys have a good day. See you on the next clip.